What's up, my friend? Welcome back to another video. So today we're doing another dual review. We're going to be taking a look at Poseidon from Audio Imperia, a brand new brass library, and we're also looking at the Emotive Soloists, Emotive Woodwind Soloists from Fracture Sounds, and sort of continuing their Legato series of libraries. And both of these libraries will probably make their way into my sample library buyer's guide at some point in the near future after playing with them a little bit. If you want to check that out, it's a completely free guide you can check out down below in the description. It basically covers all the sample libraries I would use on a regular basis and also the pricing and utility, so you know how I would use those libraries. And it's very comprehensive. So if you want to check that out at any point and have it on hand for your next library purchase, you can grab it down below as a gift for watching this video today. So with that being said, let's kind of talk about this library here. Poseidon, I think, is meant to be not just a regular brass library, but also to give you a sense of being underwater. Poseidon, right? Think about the legends of the gods of water and just being underneath. So there's a more muted, warm sound to this library, which I really do like, even with the modern mix. So what I've done is pulled up the multi-patches here, and we can listen to the different ensembles and the different sections. The Meridian Ensemble, to start with, focuses on the softer instruments. So I think it's a combination of French horns, euphoniums, flugelhorns, and 2 trombones as well, all playing in a softer dynamic. So let's have a listen to the regular sustains. Okay, so a very interesting take on brass so far, right? I think my favorite patch is the airy texture sustained. Like, this really gives me the sensation of sort of being underwater and submerged. It's a really cool thing. I cannot go without saying, though, the most glaring omission to me is legato. I'm a legato junkie. People say legato's overrated. I highly disagree. I know brass players might not use legato maybe as much as other sections, but man, if this library had legato, maybe it's in front of me and I'm just missing it. I'm making this video before I'm watching any walkthrough before that's released or anything like that. Maybe there is legato in here, but I'm not quite seeing it. And here on the advanced page, there's more like mic options and stuff like that and reverb. But yeah, I think if we had an option to make melodies with with this library, that would just make it so much better. But sound quality wise, articulation wise, it's super creative, and the sound itself is very pristine. And I really like how out of the box it's not too far, but you definitely get a sense of that hull sound, and it really puts you in the space of being underwater. But yeah, I would love legato for all the different sections. Unfortunate. That's okay. All right, let's move on to the wave motion. So this is something that's included with every single ensemble and the individual sections. Basically, just more dynamics like swells, stuff like that. So let's have a quick listen to a few of these here. And there we go. So basically, these are like swells, right? Kind of swelling up and then swelling down, recorded in 4 different lengths, it looks like. So that's pretty cool. And even at the highest dynamic, when I was pushing the mod wheel all the way up for the sustains and stuff, it really didn't go beyond, like, let's say a forte dynamic, which again is a good aesthetic choice, I think, for this theme of library. And you can really see it as a background textural sort of library, because we'll take a look at the sound design later. So I guess it justifies the lack of legato, because this is not really meant to be, sitting at the front of your mix, if you will. It's more of the background, so you're probably not going to play melodies in the background. So I guess it makes sense. All right, let's hear the Azure Ensemble. This one is more of the traditional symphonic brass section: trumpets, trombones, horns, and tuba, I think. Is it? Or no, a bass trombone maybe. So let's play the sustains and have a listen. The other thing I wanted to mention, now I remember, is the staccatissimo. You can hear there's a bit of a bleed, like a pre-note attack sort of thing. And I think this results as because they probably recorded the shorts through performance methods, where they probably played a series of short notes and then they extracted each of those short notes from the performances to create the staccatissimo patch. There's nothing inherently wrong with that approach, but if you do have this in an exposed context, you will naturally hear the bleed from the pre-attack. So just be aware of that. The mercato, I think, actually serves really well as sort of an alternate staccato, staccatissimo. It's very, very short as well, and you don't get that pre-note bleed. Right, a nice biting attack, and it definitely cuts through. So in all honesty, I would probably use the mercato patches instead of the regular staccatissimo if I need some short notes and it's exposed. So here's a few of the wave motions here. Pretty cool. All right, let's go a little faster here for the rest of the section. So now we have the individual sections. We have 2 trumpets. Lots of dynamic range between the soft and the louds there. I really like that. Again, you sort of get that pre-note bleed there. So again, just be careful. Very nice. And then some air noises here as well. Cool. You could sort of blend that into another one of the sustained textures to add more depth to the sound. Okay, and then here's some of the wave motions. You get the idea, basically swells. Now let's hear the French horns. Let's hear the tenor trombones now. Yeah, lots of raspiness there in the trombone swells. All right, then we have the bass trombone here. Yeah, the multiphonics definitely give you sort of an unsettling feeling. So it's a really cool effect. Usually we hear it more in woodwinds, but it's cool that we have it sampled in brass as well. Cool. All right, let's have a listen to the sound design now. So we were just looking at the multi-patches with all the different articulations listed in a list, listed down there, and now we have the sound design patch, sound design all in one. And I think this is really one of the heartbeats of the library. It's pretty cool. You have different pads and stuff you can layer in there. Choose from the different instruments and ensembles, and then you can choose the actual articulation itself as well. So if you want to layer more sustained textures together, then you'll get something very moody and whatever. But if you have shorts, then naturally you'll have a biting, more of an attack thing. And then they have layers, they have different effects and rhythm, and then granular and master. Probably I would just be using the layers feature, because that for me is the aesthetic of the library, getting the underwater feeling of this. So out of the box, this is what the patch sounds like. Pretty cool, right? Maybe let's change up the pad here in the middle. Let's hear what that sounds like on its own. If we solo it up. Beautiful. And let's unsolo that. Let's choose a different layer here for the right side. So maybe here I'll go with the Azure Ensemble waves, and I will choose the flutter long. See what that sounds like on its own. Cool. And then finally, let's maybe change up this Meridian Ensemble here. We'll do 2 trumpets, and we will do muted sustains. So we have a muted sustains, we have flutter long in the Azure Ensemble, so multiple instruments there, and then a pad to round it out. Right, it's beautiful, and then here, if you look at the presettings, or what's it called, the presets, they have different combinations of layers and pads and stuff. So let's hear one of these here. How about choral chorus? Let's see. Okay, so we have the pads, anchor, we have the two horns, waves, and we have bass trombone here as well. Gorgeous. Yeah. I mean, I could definitely see media composers getting all up on this library just for that feature alone, the sound design patch here. So it's really, really cool. Again, I'm not the biggest sound design guy, obviously, so I'd probably be using the multi patches and the singles patches most. But if I do need some brass layering and I really want that warm sound, then this sound design patch can be very, very useful. So that is the brass library. Very, very cool. Great stuff. My only two gripes with it, honestly, are just the lack of legato. I'm a sucker for legato. Okay, what can I say? I love legato, even if it's just for the horns patches to create these slow moving melodies. That would have been lovely. And then the other thing was for some of the staccatissimo patches, you hear that bleed before the attack of the note. In an exposed context, it's quite noticeable, but if you want to use the marcato patches instead, I think that's a good way to go. So I guess I'll have to make up for my lack of legato there with this library, Emotive Woodwind Soloists. And on the other side of things, this is primarily legato, right? I mean, it's literally called Emotive Woodwind Soloist. So as a soloist, if you're playing melodies, then you would probably want to have legato in your library. And I think Fracture Sounds have really done some great legato work so far. They have their brass band soloist, which was their first legato library. Then they came up with soft string soloists, and now they have the woodwinds. So they covered the three core sections of the orchestra, which is awesome. Let's have a listen. So let's start with the flute here. All right, beautiful. So let's open the folder structure here so we can actually see what the library comes with. Flute, oboe, cor anglais or English horn, clarinet, and bassoon. Those are sort of the core ones. Cor anglais is the oboe doubler, so that's a nice addition there. And we also have additional articulations that don't belong to the core set, as well as a piccolo bonus, which we'll hear at the very end. So in terms of the legato itself, which again, for me is a core focus, I think the legato itself sounds beautiful. That being said, though, I do feel like this patch could have been even more emotive, more passionate, if the vibrato came in a little sooner after the legato transition and was a little bit wider. If there was a little more vibrato and it came in a little sooner, that for me would have been the perfect sort of flute patch. So notice how after the legato transition, it takes a full second and a half for the vibrato to start to come in. And even so, it's a relatively subtle vibrato. So I do feel like if we want a bit more emotion in the performance, those are the two things I would personally change. That being said, though, the sound quality is beautiful, and the hall that they recorded this in, you can really hear that. So the mid mic is serving the library very, very well. Let's move on to the oboe, which is one of my favorites here in this library. Right, it's just a beautiful sound. And in terms of the vibrato comment I made earlier, this one solves that beautifully. Like after the legato transition, you hear the vibrato pretty much coming in almost right away. Uh, right, that high B flat we just played, you can hear the vibrato da da, like it comes in pretty much right away, which is pretty cool. Especially in the middle of a melodic line. That sort of almost instantaneous vibrato is very useful. When you're climaxing to a certain point, then when you come back down and you ride the dynamics back down a little bit, then the vibrato can be a little bit more subtle. Cor Anglais, another beautiful instrument here. Nice. Cool. And very similar to the other legato libraries, you can change the position of the library. Sorry, the instrument. Where did I put it here? Yeah, so you can change where you want it. So the custom position, you can actually change that. You can click to place it somewhere else that will affect the panning and also the mic positioning of it. Or if you want it really, really simple, for the mic perspective, you can just drag it closer to you or further away. So it's completely up to you. You can see how it adjusts the mic positions as a result. Maybe let's hear that a little bit, actually. So Cor Anglais, let's hear it really close. Great. And I gotta say, the close mic in this library sounds a lot better than a lot of other close mics I've heard. So yeah, definitely big props for that. And it makes sense they would pay more attention to the close mic anyway, just because this whole library is meant and intended as a soloist library. So, if you really want that close, intimate sound, then you're probably going to want a good mic for that, a good, a well-scripted patch. So let's hear the clarinet now. One thing I keep forgetting to mention is that I definitely think this library, just like the other legato libraries they've done, it really excels with slower melodic passages rather than playing really, really fast. Some of the faster passages I just played, it kind of did keep up, but some of the transitions kind of get cut off if you play a little too quickly. So even from the name of this library, Emotive Woodwind Soloists, you can tell that they want you to go for sort of a slower melodic aesthetic to really let the samples breathe and the musicality in every note kind of come through. All right, then we have the bassoon as well. Yeah, just a beautiful sound. All right, let's hear a couple of these additional articulations for the flute. Yeah, so that's pretty cool as well. Basically, these are more or less trills, right? So yeah, let's maybe hear a couple of these for the English horn as well. Very nice. And then we have the piccolo patch. So there's not a dedicated solo piccolo legato patch here, but we do have scripted legato, I believe this is. And then we also have a legato in octaves patch here. So maybe the piccolo is layered with the flute an octave below. And there we go. So a lot of beautiful sounds in this library. I especially admire companies that take the time to do soloists properly because a lot of ensemble libraries get the focus. You know, we try to capture as many instruments together as we can. And while that creates a beautiful aesthetic that I think every composer does need, there are often moments where we do need just the most basic solo line. And a lot of libraries don't really offer that too well. And so, therefore, as a result, a lot of composers are hesitant to use exposed soloists because they simply aren't scripted for that purpose. But when you have libraries that do fit that exact aesthetic, then it's really rewarding to have. And when you hear the legato being so smooth in many of these cases, and the musicality in the samples really reflects the passion as well, it's just a really a no-brainer to have at your disposal if you don't already have woodwind soloists. Even if you do, this provides a nice alternative and an additional color in your palette. So big thanks to both Audio Imperia and Fracture Sounds for sharing these libraries with me. Really had fun playing around with them. And if you have questions about them, please do let me know. I'll do my best to help. And if you want to check out the rest of my sample library recommendations, whether that's for strings, woodwinds, brass percussion, other sections as well, like pianos and harps and stuff, and I don't know, jazz libraries, ethnic libraries, all of that is included in my sample library buyer's guide down below in the description. So if you want to check that out, it's totally free, and it's a gift for checking out this video today, which is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next one, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.